Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Analysts Podcast. Jessa, how are you feeling today? Because I am feeling spicy.
Spicy both, like, physically and internally, maybe?
Yes, because it's a bajillion degrees here, but also I'm very fired up.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's cloudy here, so it's not bad.
Oh.
Leaves are starting to turn, and we're only 11 days away from
Yo, that's crazy.
Isn't that wild? Leaves are starting to turn. I mean, it's still hot, but signs of the times. We're so close. We're so close.
This is a sign of the times. All right. Enough Harry Styles. We got a lot to get to today on today's rundown, and we will start with the practice highlights that they posted today, Tuesday, August 18th. We have our first Kyler Casper highlights. We have been talking about this. They heard us. They heard us slandering his name because they haven't posted a highlight with him in it yet. We finally saw it. And were you able to watch these, Jessa? Were you graced with his presence?
Yeah, I think maybe he heard us talking about him, and so he decided to actually go do stuff. Because literally we went from hearing nothing to, like you're going to talk about. He was in several highlights. So, do tell.
Yeah, a couple that stood out to me. He had an inside-out comeback for a touchdown against Terry and Alexander. It looked like a night, like obviously you don't see him in the frame the whole time, but he's fighting back to the outside against Trey and goes up, high points the ball. Definitely won on his route. Obviously, that's why it's in the highlight reel. And then he also had a drag or like an in route. I couldn't really tell. Bear places it perfectly. He gets like a first down off of it. And he had like a couple yards of separation against Shmev. Now, obviously, we have no idea what defenses the defense is running. Like, we have no idea what the coverage is. Like, maybe this is all like very humdrum and according to plan. But it was good to see, A, that he's running with the ones, 2, that he's beating our number 1 corners, and 3, that he's actually doing something. He has a pulse, he's on the field, and he's catching footballs. So there is hope for the wide receiver core. I'm not saying I believe in it, but I am saying there is hope.
Yeah, so you have the optimistic side of it, which is, Kyler. And I mean, I'm seeing JoJo a little bit. I'm hearing that they're very tall, not big, tall, right?
Yes.
And tons of offensive highlights. Also, Bear is placing the ball. I mean, in those highlights, right?
In the highlights, yes.
In the highlights, and you know, especially, that they only show you about 10%, maybe less, of what actually goes on.
Oh, yeah.
I do feel like we're getting more highlights than in years past, meaning
I would agree.
Like better plays. Last year, I don't feel like we looked this good on tape, so I don't know what variables have to change in order for that to happen. But yeah, I agree. It's good to see Kyler doing things, and he does look good. Okay, and then pessimistically, there were some clips where I did not even know it was Shmev he beat because Shmev wasn't in the frame. So that is a little bit concerning to be like, oh, there doesn't look like there's anybody within 10 yards of him.
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah. So. And we heard that the scrimmage they did over on Saturday was just a complete blowout from the offense.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you heard as well? I heard that the defense had a very poor day.
Yes.
Which is probably not very good to hear if you're a sports analysts member, because we tend to believe that BYU relies on its defense in order to get wins, and we win in spite of our offense and not because of our offense. So that doesn't bode well. But again, lots of offensive highlights. I will say this: we don't pop off the page big. Like, you may have some taller players, but I feel like in years past, you can tell like who the big guys are and who the small guys aren't. It kind of feels like, you have your short white running backs, right? But then everybody else is kind of like the same size. Like even Ryder Lyons or whatever his name is. Is it Walker or Ryder?
Walker.
Ryder is the quarterback.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. But even like Walker Lyons, like he doesn't look that big. Maybe it's just the single digit number on the jersey. He just doesn't look huge. Now, I don't really know what to make of this because this is a 2-minute and 20-second clip from ground level with some fairly basic camera equipment, right? I I would like us to not be looking so average, though. I would love for me to be like, that's a dude. That's a dude. And I wasn't feeling that. Do you feel the same way, Jess? I don't know if this is just me vibes.
I don't know. I don't spend all day every day looking at NFL dudes like you do, so maybe
Okay,
that's
fair.
why. Maybe that's why. I will say that I've seen highlights of like LSU and Michigan's practice, and those guys, when you look at it, when you look at them, one of the first things you think is like, every single one of them looks like LJ. You know,
Yeah.
those dudes. And I've thought that about a couple of our players, like LJ being one of them. Um, and I also thought that about Cade Olave, and so I think we have size that's scattered, but not on the level like you said, consistently across position groups. But also we'll have to see. We'll have to see when we line up how we compare to other teams. So
Yep. And we may not really even know until week 2. Because, I mean, Utah Tech, I'm sorry, those bodies aren't going to be...
we're gonna look huge. We're gonna
look
massive.
very big. So, yeah, it'll be very telling, especially with our family seats in the north end zone. Watching Arizona come out of the tunnel, we'll be able to tell right away, all right, is it about the same or are we very underclassed? Or maybe we're overclassed. Maybe we have really big dudes and that's just everybody's bigger now. I don't know.
Yeah.
My last note from the highlights, very little run success. There was not a single run play that was not in the highlight reel and also longer than 1 yard. Everything was like stopped in the backfield. Again, this is highlights. This is what the video team chooses to show us. Did not inspire confidence in the run game whatsoever.
Yeah, 2 things on that. Number 1, I think you're talking about the first team offense. Yes.
Yes.
Because second team, I saw some highlights where I had a similar vibe to the Kyler Casper stuff, where I'm like, oh,
Okay.
you could drive a truck through that hole, and it's Preston Rex like going up the middle, but it's against the 2s. Like I don't recognize a single number on the defense.
Right.
For the 1s, yeah, I'm not seeing very much. The caveat with that is LJ has not taken a ton of snaps.
Okay.
But-
I will say, like,
still.
LJ was not the running back in any of these highlights.
Yeah, we're
Like,
seeing
it
a lot
was-
of highlights of the defense getting in the backfield. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Again, we're just overreacting to one single 2-minute clip. But, that's what we do here in the Sports Analyst Podcast. Jessa, we have a lot to get to with the preseason, AP Top 25, whatever the frick. But I have a pitch for you before we start this. I have a pitch for you and everybody else in the Sports Analyst chat and in the viewership of this episode. One of my favorite things in the whole wide world is to watch BYU and college football with my family, including all of us, big family. It's the best. Doing what did we call this? The cyclone or whatever?
Yeah, what was that? Was it the cyclone?
Yeah, I can't remember.
what it was. Shout out
Yeah, some
Alex.
sort of twister. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, what was it called?
Oh my gosh, what was it called?
It wasn't the cyclone.
We will remember.
We'll remember.
3/4 of the way through this episode.
But anyway, us
Yeah.
just like hamming it out. BYU is like beating West Virginia by like 17 points, and we're just having a ball. Like, that is like my favorite thing ever. So, me living in Georgia and not being able to come out and watch games with everybody, I had an idea. Obviously, I want to hear what everybody thinks about it. But what if we did some sort of watch party, whether it was over FaceTime or Discord? I know we did this for the Cincinnati game last year. I would love to do it for a couple of more games. Maybe it's not even a BYU game. Maybe it's just, Ohio State, Indiana, or, like some big game that's on that weekend. And we all just like sync up. We all press play at the same time. We all are watching on Discord. Maybe somebody even like streams from Discord and we watch off the disc. So that way we're all set up. I don't know. Would that be interesting to you? Obviously, it wouldn't be BYU home game, but maybe a BYU away game or maybe like some primetime game, maybe a Thursday night game. I don't know. Does that sound fun?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you, not even like me, not even just me, I can tell you for confidence that other people want this too, because at least 2 people responded from the survey that I sent out about pick'ems.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they brought this up. They were like, the other thing I love is watching the game together. So absolutely. And I was going to say, we have to make sure that the game starts at the same time, because one of the funniest things about the Cincinnati game last year was watching Jackson and Amelia's face, because they were like 30 seconds ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe a minute. and being like, and not knowing if it was positive or negative or enough to having to wait a minute to find out. But 100%. I think, and like you said, we could figure out how to do it, but let's do it. Let's do it.
Yep. I love that. I love that. Everybody watching this, everybody in Sports Analysts, all the chats, drop it in the comments below this video in the YouTubes. Just drop it in there, whether or not you'd be down and any ideas that you have to make it work. I just think that'd be really fun. But anyway, Jess, let's get to the big news, which is the AP. Let's see, how is the best way to say this? The preseason AP top 25, or is it the AP preseason top 25? AP top preseason 25?
I don't like any of those. But honestly, I don't like it, period. You know?
Okay.
Ultimately, what it is it's a bunch of people like us who really, or maybe even not even like us. Actually, they don't like college football as much as we do. We know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Beat writers that have a connection to a certain university who send in a ballot about who, and they just rank them. That's the only criteria, is you got to rank them. You don't have to give justification for anything. You can just, as we found out last year, right? And everybody sends it in, and all of a sudden that decides the fate of all of these teams, which seems like the craziest thing in the world to me. And they haven't even played a game yet. So let's talk about it. Whatever it is, whatever we call it, I think it's crazy, but it gives us something to talk about, and it gives the SEC as many ranked wins as possible.
Yes, and that is exactly what it is. It is a system created to benefit the system creators. And the ones that have a chokehold on it are the ones that influence it and create it. And they have done a great job once again putting Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas. Indiana's the only, okay, maybe we took a swing on this. And they're the reigning national champs.
Yeah, they're number 6.
And they're number 6.
Could
you imagine?
State lost half their roster. And they went up 4 spots. And Indiana, sure, lost some people, but just won the national championship and go down 5.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And I bet you could go back. I wonder how many years it would be that you could go back and the reigning national champ is number 1 in that next year's poll. Or number 2 or 3. I bet you could go back probably 30 years and do that. And have them be, I guarantee you, higher than 6. 6 is guaranteed the lowest a national champ has been ranked the next year. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were just number 1 or 2 across the entire board, the entire history of the poll. It's so silly. This thing is a farce and it's a joke. And the bad thing is that it matters. And I think that's what we're going to kind of get into today, is that everybody says it doesn't matter and that it's just so that we have stuff to talk about and just so that people will watch because there's numbers. But it absolutely does matter. The AP poll heavily influences the CFP committee's votes. It's basically a carbon copy what the CFP committee does. They never do anything different. And what they do different, it's 1 spot or 2 spots, right? It's a Notre Dame Miami situation where it's 11 and 12. How about 12 and 11?
Yeah. Or they kick out an SMU and they pull in a Missouri or a Tennessee, right? They kick out a Virginia, they pull in, they're like, let's take in as many SEC teams as we can. And I don't know if there's some nefarious purpose going on with that, right? But it's unbiased and uneducated to me, which is what pisses me off, but whatever.
It's either incompetent or nefarious. Because it's not competent and serious, right?
Yes.
We know it's not. So it's either they're stupid and idiotic and they shouldn't have that job, or they are nefarious and they are setting up, they are using the system to make themselves and their friends money, right? And to gain power and influence, which this is America. That's all it's about, is gaining power and influence and money. It's never about actually doing anything positive. I will say we're going to talk about the influence of the CFP and the AP top 25. It's only in the top 12, right? It's setting up the bracket, right? And once you get down into the lower, you're going to see a lot of differences between the AP poll and the CFP poll. And by a lot, I mean like a couple more than you would see in the top 12. And the reasoning for that is because the CFP committee, they don't need to release a top 25. Who said that they needed to do 25? Their only job is to create a top 12, right? The reason they release a top 25 is so that they can support and justify the decisions that they make in the top 12. So, for example, if you have Alabama over Notre Dame, you can say, oh, well, Alabama has wins over Tennessee and over Missouri, and Notre Dame only has a win over SMU. And they say because Tennessee and Missouri are ranked higher than SMU is, that justifies our ranking Alabama above Notre Dame. There's absolutely no reason, and I guarantee you there's no thought put into, I wonder if Louisville or Miami or Louisville or Houston would actually win in a matchup, or what their stats do. It's all about setting up your top 12 and being able to justify using your own ranking. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
100%.
We use that phrase a lot, but yeah, it's a joke.
Yep, well stated. It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and somebody said in the first week that the college football rankings were released, which is what? Week 7? Was it 9? Week 9?
I think it was week 10 last year.
Is it week 10 or something? Anyways, it's later than the AP poll has been around for a number of weeks. And in the little segment that they do where the commissioner of the committee comes up and explains their rankings, he said, we put Alabama where they did because they had 3 ranked wins back to back, right? Mm-hmm. And the CFP is supposed to not care about the AP poll. And so we're all like, where'd you get those rankings? From the AP poll, and then they pulled them over to the CFP poll, CFP rankings or whatever, and they did exactly that. They pulled in teams, said, these guys were ranked or are ranked now, and so Alabama's resume is now bolstered. We don't like that, obviously. Maybe if you're an Alabama fan, you love that. But yeah, there's a lot of politicking going on for the sake of TV ratings and maybe, just maybe, avoiding fire from the South. Because those guys get annoying when you don't do what you want them to do.
Oh, yeah. You offend them once and they threaten to leave. To leave. We've seen it before. It's happening again.
See it again. Yep.
Anyway, BYU ranked at 14th. Let's talk about the Cougs. This is the second highest preseason ranking, I think, of all time. And the first is like when they were ranked, again, 6th right after winning a national championship. Absurd. But 14th, how do we feel, Jess? Is this fair?
I think it's higher than I thought we were going to be. Again, my faith in voters is like 0. By the way, we're the number 1 most underrated team in all of college football as far as being ranked here and finishing higher, right? So no, I expected like 17 or 18, around where Washington and Penn State are. That's where I expected. So I was actually delighted because we moved up. Let's see, we ended 11th last year and we were unranked. So we moved up at least 16 spots, right? Yeah. We'll get into it, but I think that being ranked in the preseason, if we play well, will help us big time moving forward.
Oh yeah.
So what was your reaction to seeing us at 14?
I actually think it's super fair, given our wide receiver room and the fact that we lost Jay Hill.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Like I know that we returned a bunch of other people, and we returned L.J. Martin and a couple of offensive linemen and Bear Bachmeyer and yada, 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 and a lot of defensive starters. But we have 0 proven receiving options, even at tight end. Like, we have hope, right? But we have no proven. You can't say, I know this is going to happen, right? You can't say that they've done it before. And then you have a brand new, I think Kelly Papinga's a first-time defensive coordinator, right? Like,
he was the assistant DC at Virginia for 3 years, but he's never been DC. So yeah,
he's never been the only guy like calling all the shots, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that all that in context, I think is very fair and even kind of generous, maybe, right? Like you were saying, I expected us to be with the Washingtons and Penn States, right, at 17, 18 range. Now, to your point about being ranked higher, I think that is crucial for BYU's success. I think starting at 14, you are going to move up just by being there, right? We see this with teams like Texas A&M. Ole Miss is ranked ninth because that's all they did last year, right? You just sit in that range beneath a bunch of teams, and the AP poll refuses to drop you unless you lose, right? We've seen this 100 times, and obviously,
That's
like,
why
this
it's
is
wild. That's why
right.
Notre Dame is going to benefit so much from this. Because they play freaking JV softball
They play us. That's
state.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, like, if they don't lose another game, it does not matter how bad their schedule is, they'll be number one because it's Notre Dame and they're starting number 4.
Yeah.
The AP poll is not going to drop them based on a poor performance. We've seen it 100 times over, 1,000 times over. Ohio State did this. Indiana did this against Penn State. BYU did this a ton last year. We still ended up ranked 11th, right? Like, we were number 8 when we lost to Texas Tech the first time. Notwithstanding that we had to have like a comeback against Colorado, a comeback against Arizona, and like all this shiz, right? And yet we still ended up 11th. So being ranked at 14th, like by the time we played Notre Dame in mid-October, we could be number 5. You know,
Just
given
can't
the
screw it up.
teams. Exactly, as long as you don't lose.
Yep, just can't lose early. You can't get blown out to Arizona. Against Arizona at home, and you can't go get blown out against TCU on the road. And honestly, you just gotta win. You just gotta win.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that last year, right? That's what we did. We won.
Yep.
So,
but to your point, winning is more important now than it was last year. Last year it was just you gotta stack wins. It's so like you're desperately like trying to win in order to get yourself into the conversation. We are already in the conversation. Now it's just about not messing up, right? This is a different place than BYU has been in the past. It's always been scrappy underdog fighting to get in. Now we're kind of in. Like there's no way that we end 14th at the end of the season. Like if we just kind of hold serve. If BYU does the exact same thing every week, we are going to be top 10 by the end of the season, just given the nature of college football.
Yeah.
So now it's don't mess up. Don't lose to West Virginia. Don't lose to those stupid games to Kansas or whatever, you know?
Yeah, agreed. That would be the worst thing ever. Yeah, it's interesting being in a position of power. We'll see how we handle it. We've been gifted this from the AP because we sure as heck didn't earn it. Because nobody earns anything because you haven't won a single game. But
nobody's earned anything.
Yeah, so we just gotta we gotta take care of business, and we'll be all right. We'll see. I'm really excited for games to get started. Really excited, Lucho. So
me too. Jessa, I wanted to take a look at last year's poll and the final CFP rankings and kind of see the difference, right? Because there's the two schools of thought about the AP poll, right? Is that it's just these power, they just put the logos up there and then the logos win games and then the logos make the playoff, right? But then there's also the perspective that these voters have no idea what they're talking about because nobody's played any games. And so, last year you ranked Penn State number 2 and Clemson number 3, and neither of them even had like 10 wins, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have done a deep dive on last year's preseason AP Top 25 and the CFP final top 25. And I want to hear, what are your findings?
Yeah, so a couple patterns emerged. Essentially, like, the committee did not, or not the committee, the AP voters obviously don't know what the freak they're talking about. Well, actually, because none of us do, right? So the first AP poll, I know, isn't that wild? Rating teams before they've played games and telling us how good they are. That's crazy. Here's the deal. 12 teams that started ranked ended unranked. That's half the teams.
Wow.
They got half the teams wrong. Like, started unranked, right?
And it's not even like, oh, it was number 2, but they actually finished number 10. No, this is completely not even close.
Right. And so our, like, the corresponding factor to that is that 12 teams ended the season ranked who were not ranked previously, BYU being one of them. BYU was actually the highest ranked team that started unranked. So we rose the most in the poll, going from unranked to 11th. And then you had Utah, Vanderbilt, Virginia, Iowa, Tulane, and a handful of others.
Wait. I have a question here. Why are 9 or 10 out of these 12 teams coming from lesser conferences?
That's wild, isn't it? And I'll
Yeah,
tell you why.
why do you think that is?
It's because they don't have the logo, the SEC logo. And then truthfully, if you want to be completely unbiased about it, they don't have 4 and 5 stars like pouring in every year, right? Honestly, that's what it is. And that is probably, I wouldn't say it's the best indicator of success or predictor for success in preseason, but it's the thing that people look at the most because when teams do really well, people really love to look back and be like, "Oh, we knew it because they were so talented." Because of all
Yeah.
these 4 and 5 stars. But there are so many different factors that go into building a good resume outside of so obviously the SEC teams are going to win the preseason because they've got
Yep.
all the 4 and 5 stars and they're the SEC and whatnot because that's based
Yeah.
on non-real factors. So yeah,
But
when you
but
actually
then
get
they
into
also the SEC also always finishes the best, right? They always win the national title. They always have the most teams in the playoff. Like Arkansas has more
right,
4 and 5 stars than BYU will ever get in a single
mm-hmm,
recruiting cycle, and so they always finish with more wins than BYU, right? And
that's
ranked above
exactly
them.
right.
Like that's it just makes sense. It just makes sense that that would be the case. Florida, South Carolina, LSU, Clemson, Penn State, Tennessee, all of these teams have more 4 and 5 stars than BYU's had the last 10 years combined. So it makes sense to put them in the top 25 because obviously they'll finish in the top 25, right? None of those
Right.
teams finished outside the top 25 last year.
Yeah, and the other thing too, we're gonna get into real teams here. We're talking about rankings here, but I would be remiss if I didn't go this whole episode and not talk about this. As someone who has created and has worked for a year on her own model for college football, I've gone through predictive, I've gone through power ratings, I've gone through resume ratings, and the same way I've gone through those iterative steps, for in college football, we can't decide what the freak rankings are. Like the
It's true.
committee can't tell us because there are different types of rankings. Like if
Yeah.
you were to go through and say power ratings, right? And say how talented is this team? How much resources does this program have? This is a predictive thing, right?
Right.
That list
It is
would look
if you
Go ahead.
no, keep going. You're
Well,
getting
I was
to
just
my
going to
point.
say that list is going to look very different than the list that is, hey, this is the resume of teams that have earned their way, who have done the most given their schedule this season, who deserve a spot to compete at a higher level, like in a playoff, right?
Yep.
People and the college football rankings, they can't decide. They
Yep.
can't decide. That's why it's a popularity contest because they use each argument at different times, whatever serves
Yeah.
them.
Within the same TV segment, he will say,
Yes.
well, this team has a better resume, so they were ranked above them. But then Florida State and Alabama happens, and they just said, well, Florida State deserved to be in, but Alabama is the quote-unquote better team in our eyes. Completely subjectively, we think they're better, and so they're going in. And like you said, they use it just to support whatever argument they want to do, which again, it's either incompetent or it's nefarious. And either way, it is unacceptable.
Either way, we don't like it. Okay?
Yeah.
Gosh, we just want to watch our Maction on Thursdays and then have everybody be given an opportunity or have clear criteria for what they need to do. Okay? If you
Yep.
need to have a top 20 recruiting class in order to make the playoff, just say that.
Just say it.
Just say it. But they won't. Okay.
No,
that's
they
fine.
won't. They won't.
Okay, back. What were we talking about? I think that's good for patterns. Basically, the AP doesn't know what the frick they're talking about because it's all predictive and it doesn't actually measure what teams are going to do on the field. And it's weird. We go from predictive and then we end with resume, supposedly. So we do this
Sort of.
weird. Yeah, somewhere in the middle of the season, we like change things, which is interesting. But yeah, any other thoughts on what the AP is and how they don't know what the heck they're talking about? We talked about 2 top 25 teams dropping out. We talked about 12 new teams coming in by the end.
I just think for rankings in general, this goes for the CFP, and I know we only have a couple minutes left, but I do want to get to our game. It is a joke that we have people with full-time jobs that require their full attention every Saturday for like 10 plus hours We say that these people are supposed to watch all of the college football and all of the teams, at least as most as they can, and then give us a fair and unbiased and accurate judgment and well-informed judgment on how these teams rank up against each other. That is the stupidest thing that I have ever heard in my entire life. Like, these guys they have full-time jobs covering the team that they cover. You're not going to get a BYU journalist that's spending 3 hours before the game, 4 hours during the game, and 2 hours after the game watching all these other college football games and making an accurate ranking based on the other teams. That's not how life works. That's not how human brains work. It's stupid and it's ridiculous. And every single ranking system that uses a group of people with full-time jobs to also have a full-time job that they're supposed to be doing simultaneously is ridiculous, and it's a farce.
Agreed. I just had a thought.
I want to hear
it.
it.
And then we will move on to this game. Okay, I promise. But I think that, to your point, the only way that we can still, because we obviously moved to the AP for a reason, right? Where people didn't like having the human element removed. They didn't like BCS that was fully automated and fully computer math, because it takes out the eye test, right? And it takes out all of the other subjective things that you can use to say one team is better than the other. So that's why we moved it. I do think that ideally we find some middle ground. Actually, ideally, everything is divided geographically, and you have divisions, and it's all based on winning, right? And if you win, then you have a shot at national championship. That's ideal. If these guys can't watch the games, like, do what I do and get your calculator out and do it based on production on the field. This whole touchy-feely, I like Notre Dame. Notre Dame supposedly has an amazing quarterback who I didn't hear about at all last year. But apparently over the offseason, he's become a Heisman favorite, which is great. Right? Okay, cool. We've got to have something to ground us. So I think that maybe every AP voter should be required to have their own model. That's food for thought.
Yeah.
Okay? If you can't watch the games, you got to at least look at the production that came out of this and have something to back up your decisions, because I just can't I feel like, you know? So.
This was a great idea 50 years ago when the internet didn't exist. But guys, guess what? It does now. We can do this better. Let's just think about it. Anyway, Jessa, you have a very fun game for us. I'm very excited for this. We are going to make our predictions based on the research that you have done about what happens each year from the preseason to the final AP Top 25.
Yeah, we're going to play this. We're going to take what we learned last year and apply it to this year. So if something similar happens as last year in the AP this year, then some crazy things are going to happen, and we're going to predict those. So I have a couple questions for us. The first one is 2 teams in the top 5, we just talked about it, ended the season unranked. That was Clemson and Penn State. Top 5 teams. Number 1 and number 2, right? And they were gone. Or number 1 and number 3 or something. So we've got our top 5, and our top 5 are Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas. Which 2 teams do you think end up unranked this year? Let's just tickle our brains. 2 of those teams are going to be unranked at the end of the season. Which ones are they?
It's sure as hell is not going to be Notre Dame. I'm going to say...
Because of the schedule, agreed.
Because of the schedule. It is going to be Texas. And it pains me to say it. Actually, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with Georgia. Because all I have heard, okay, is how hard this SEC schedule is. It is so hard that an NFL team would have 6 losses playing an SEC schedule like this. And so these 2 SEC teams are going to lose a lot of games. That's what I'm taking away from this.
Okay, this is interesting. So I agree on Texas. Let me tell you their 5 losses, because I think in order to be unranked, you've got to have 5 losses. You've got to go 7-5. If Texas is unranked, they have lost to Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, at LSU, and at Texas A&M. 100%.
That's doable.
I think that's doable. Based on what we saw last year, the guys, they lost to Florida. 5-7.
They were
Florida.
horrible.
They were bad. They were bad.
They were a joke.
So I think they can get to 5 losses. I'm doing what you said you weren't going to do for the second team. So sorry.
It's fair. It's the more logical argument.
Listen to these 5 games, and you tell me that these are all like Sharpie wins. So you just tell me, okay? Ohio State, these 5 games, they could lose at Texas, right? They
100%.
could. We talked about them a couple weeks ago. they could go to Iowa and lose. If
Yep.
this team has an average year and Iowa has a good year, then they could lose. At Indiana, they could lose that.
Yep.
At USC is a stretch. That's probably the biggest stretch, but I mean,
Cross-country road trip.
could. I don't know. And then they get Oregon at home. Again, Ohio State would have to be bad in order for all
But
this to
still,
happen.
that's 4 road games.
Yep.
And a home game against the number 2 team in the country, according to the voters. That's a tough schedule. I could see it.
Yep. Oregon, I'm not even gonna, let's not even talk about their schedule. They could win, they could lose 5 games, I think. But
Yeah.
I would put Ohio State above them as far as actual losable games. Oregon would have to suck to lose 5 games. Like, be really
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
For that reason, I'm saying Texas and Ohio State. Let's hope it's Texas.
Yeah, Texas. Congrats. You're out.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, so that was the first question. The second question is, which 3 teams will start the year unranked but will finish top 20? There were 8 of those. 8 teams that were unranked and finished top 20. So not top 25. They were like good teams.
Yeah.
So let's talk about 3 that we think could be ranked.
I'm going to throw out Oklahoma State for 1.
I didn't even think about them. I love that one. I love that one.
I just think they're a giant wild card. It could be like not pretty, but also there is the potential that they wind up as like the number 16 team in the country.
And with how much media around them, the media loves shiny new things, and Drew Messmaker and all of those 5 stars, that came over. Ooh, if they win a couple games, if they were competitive with Oregon, they very well could be
Right?
top. I love that.
They just need to not get absolutely like mollywalloped like they did last year.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, their hardest game, they have Texas Tech. You lose that one. Their next hardest game is at Houston. So maybe they're 10
even
and
if
2.
they drop that, even if they drop that,
10 and 2, 9 and 3 is going to get you. It'll do you a lot of favors.
Oklahoma State being good would be really good for the Big 12 too. I will say that. Yeah.
Even if they don't beat Oregon.
Right. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and finish this game for a couple minutes. Okay, we're back. So we were just talking about teams that we think will finish ranked after starting unranked, and Oklahoma State is one of those. My first one that came to mind, sneaky, is Virginia from the ACC. They went 9-3 last year, and I think I've mentioned this before, but they are old. Their team is old. And you know another team was old last year? Indiana.
BYU.
Okay,
Indiana. You're
too.
right.
But Indiana was old too, all right? They're in the ACC. Their schedule's not the greatest. They avoid Miami, and I mean, it is the greatest if you want to end ranked. They avoid Miami and Louisville. They also had a really solid transfer portal. So I don't think they got worse. So we'll see what happens with Virginia. And so Virginia is another one I could see being ranked at the end. And dark horse for the ACC. Would love to see them win the ACC with those Bronco ties.
Speaking of dark horse ACC, my next team that I believe is starting unranked and will finish ranked. Huge dark horse. You've never heard of this team before. The Clemson Tigers.
Oh, gross.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Listen to this schedule. At LSU. Okay, that's a freebie. You can lose that by 100. No one will care.
Yeah, you're good.
Georgia Southern, North Carolina. I'm sorry. At Cal, Miami. Okay, say you lose that one. Say you're 3-2 going into your bye week. Okay, probably not ranked. Okay, listen to this bull crap. Charleston, Virginia Tech, at Florida State, Syracuse.
Right after Charleston, they're ranked. What are they? 4-2 at that point?
Oh yeah. Right?
AP will find a way to rank them if they are 4-2.
Yep.
Continue. Great.
And then they get Virginia Tech at home, at Florida State, at Syracuse, Georgia Tech, at Duke, South Carolina. Absolute baloney nugget schedule. And you think that if they finish the season 10-2 with a win over like a 6-win South Carolina team, they're not ranked in the top 20? Like, they might make the playoff with that schedule, like with that record.
No, for reals. No,
like,
for reals. We need to be worried about that.
This is a shoo-in for a top 20 team against the most pitiful conference in the Power Four.
That's such a good bet because they could be 8-4 and ranked. That's such a good bet. Yeah,
We've seen it before.
Oh my gosh. Okay, opposite. Give me a long shot, but I will ride with Jerry Mack until I die. Give me the Kennesaw State. What are they? The Eagles?
The
Give it to me.
Owls. Close.
Owls. I see.
Birds of
I don't even
prey.
know. There you go. Listen, they went 9-4 last year, maybe 10-4, 10-3. I can't remember, but then their schedule is easier this year than it was last year. Not only that, they retained their entire coaching staff. They returned 73% of that production, and they maintained talent in the transfer portal. So they lost talent, but they turned around and replaced it. Okay? Listen, Kennesaw State is on the up and up. They're my dark horse to make the playoffs. You
Dude,
heard
I
it here.
love that. I love that, Jessa. I am so in on Kennesaw State.
Awesome.
That is incredible. What a pull. My last team, I'm gonna give you. I am going with the G5 team because you did, and so now I feel like I have
Good.
to equal your your audacity. I'm going with the Toledo Rockets.
I
Okay,
like this a lot.
Toledo is really good. They're a very good team. They've won the MAC or played in the MAC championship like 4 out of the last 5 years or something. They start the season at Michigan State, who is on a brand new coaching staff and was pitiful the last couple of years, on a Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on FS1. If that doesn't scream just wild Maction upset, like, great. I think they can definitely win that game. They're only like 10-point dogs, too. Totally in on that game. And then they just get a bunch of Hootie Watsits the rest of the year. You know, they go through the MAC. They play Sacramento State and UMass. If they go 11-1, I could see them being ranked. It would take probably an 11-1, but I guarantee you they're ranked with an 11-1 and a loss to Michigan State like that, or a win over Michigan State and a loss to Ohio. They're in.
Yeah, and like you said, come week 14, 15, the committee's just throwing teams in there anyway.
Right.
They're going to look at like who's 10-2, 11-1, and they're just going to throw them in, you know?
Right? And if they win their conference championship too, like, come on.
Yeah, quick facts. They had the number 5 defense last year. Sad thing is they lost 38 players to the transfer portal.
Don't tell me this. Don't tell me this. Just let me live in it.
Wait, I'm going to end on a good one. They are the 12th oldest team in the country. So that's great.
Okay.
So again,
Okay. So it's cool to be old now. Okay.
It is. It is.
Okay,
Ever since
media.
Indiana went and
Okay.
won a national championship.
Now it's cool because Indiana does it.
That's exactly.
Whatever, bro.
Yeah. Okay, my last one is Arizona. They went
Ooh,
8-4
good one.
last year, but I didn't realize that 3 of those losses were within 6 points or less, and we were the 6 points. So
that's
everybody
brutal.
else was less. They retained their entire staff that I'm really high on. They got better in the transfer portal, and they retained their offensive and defensive weapons like out of the portal. They kept Noah Fafita home. They kept a couple of their best wide receivers, their best secondary players here. So they're going to be really good again. And they kind of give me similar vibes to BYU, to where their culture is solid, like kids want to play there, and they're going to play hard there. That's why week 2 scares me so much. But I think Arizona ended last season ranked. I think they'll do the same thing this year.
I think you're right. I think that's a very safe bet. Why are they not ranked right now? Like,
Who knows? I don't know.
Can somebody
There's
make
no
an
reason
argument for
not
that?
to. People
Right.
are out here putting Noah Fafita on Heisman watch lists. It's like, they can't put 5 Big 12 teams in the rankings. You can't do that. And
Yeah.
Utah is already on there because Utah is a proven commodity with nothing changing. So you can't put Utah, you can't take Utah out and to put Arizona in. That's just silly.
No, that's not how it works, Jess.
Nope. Silly me. Okay, awesome. So let's see. We've covered 6 teams that I think could be, 5. No, 6. Kennesaw State will be ranked at the end of the year. We've got Virginia, Kennesaw State, Arizona, and then you've got Oklahoma State, Clemson, and Toledo. I like that list.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty
I think there's a good mix of good and bad and what to look out for. I like that.
perfect. Sorry, I've redacted all of these so Jared couldn't see them, and I just revealed the answer to my next question. I'm so sorry. But we're going to talk about it. The last thing, finally, let's predict. Who will the top 4 teams be in the final college football playoff rankings? Hold on, actually. This is final, like, going into the playoffs, so it's not final. Is it?
Yes, the final CFP rankings.
Yes.
Right? So, like, pre-playoff, the
Yes.
top 4 are going to be the top 4 buys, right?
Yes.
That's
'Cause
what
I
we're
don't
aiming
want to
for.
predict the national. Like once they all get into the tournament, I'm fine with chaos ensuing.
Yeah.
I want to guess who is ranked top 4 the week before the playoffs or 2 weeks before the playoffs because I guess we have 2 weeks off in the
Yeah.
playoffs, which is great. Whatever.
Whatever.
Um.
We don't like it, but who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, since I revealed, I'll go first on this one. I have Georgia as my number 1, and let me tell you why. Let me just scroll
Very
back up.
interesting.
Georgia is currently number 3. I think that Ohio State and Oregon, we talked about this, they're going to have some losses. As soon as Georgia gets up there, I think they stay up there to number 1.
Yep.
Because I am hoping that Georgia goes undefeated this year and then loses in the playoffs. And the
That
reason
would be
why
nice.
is Alabama only got in the playoffs because they beat Georgia. That is the only reason that they got in the playoffs. So I need Georgia to stop handing people wins. I need Georgia to stop handing bad teams wins. I would like to see the SEC cannibalize itself without having this gift of like, oh, but they beat Georgia. But they beat, you know what I'm saying? I need Georgia to just go beat everybody. And then everybody else below, Alabama and Texas eat each other alive. Ole Miss, Oklahoma. I need everybody to have 2 or 3 losses below. But I do think that, so I have Georgia as my number 1, if that happens.
I love that. And I think when we talk about cannibalizing itself, because everybody says like we want the conference to cannibalize itself like the Pac-12 used to, the SEC has so much cachet that you're not going to get away with the Pac-12 cannibalization that you did in the past, where every team at the top of the Pac-12, or now the Big 12, right, could finish with like 2 losses, and all of them would miss out, right? That's not going to happen ever with the SEC. We saw it last year, right?
Yes.
You're going to have all of those teams that are 10-2, instead of all of them being down at like the 9, 10, 11 range, they're going to be at the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 range. So you need one team to clearly separate itself, and then everybody else to be down at that level so that you can look at it and be like, no, Georgia is number 1, and all the other SEC teams are 10, 11, 12, and only one of them is going to make the playoff or whatever. Yep. You need to have that top tier team in order to draw the separation out with the other teams.
Yep. So that's what we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I've got Georgia number 1 for mine. Who do you have number 1?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's the easiest bet that I have ever made in my entire life. I'm not making a bet, Roger. Roger, I'm not making a bet.
No.
This is the easiest thing that I ever could predict in my entire life. Notre Dame, it is just an absolute travesty if they lose. It will be a travesty if Notre Dame does not win every single game on its schedule by 10 points. This team was sent from God to bless the American nation with football greatness. This is the best team we have ever seen. This is going to make 2019 Joe Burrow LSU look like a JV high school squad, okay? Full of choir boys that have never touched a round object in their entire life. This is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Their schedule is an absolute pansy cakewalk, including us, okay? Pansy cakewalk in Provo. If they don't finish the season undefeated, they shouldn't be ranked. It is that bad how good this team is and how bad their schedule is. They're going to finish number 1.
They're without their logo, they have the schedule of like the worst team in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
it's a Boston college.
Yeah, that's what their resume gets. So you can't argue that, you know, like an SMU is like, but their strength of schedule, you know, wasn't good. And it's like, Notre Dame had 3 times easier schedule. But like you said, apparently CJ Carr is God's gift to football. So I guess we have that. Great prediction. Great prediction. No notes. Okay, here's my number 2. Gotta unredact it. Oh, I just redacted the 3rd too. Okay, I have Indiana.
This is crazy. Okay.
Yes, I know. I have Indiana because I have no reason to not trust Kurt Signetti for them to go undefeated. Okay, here's the deal. The only 3 games that they have a talent disadvantage in, they get Ohio State at home, and I'm going to keep with the theme that maybe Ohio State can drop a couple games. Okay, so I think that's a winnable game. At Michigan, and then USC at home. Outside of that, their schedule is fairly manageable. So Kurt Signetti has shown me no reason to doubt him, so I think they're going undefeated again in the regular season, and I think they're going to be number 2. Again, this is based on predictive factors, and I'm using the data available to me. And I
And
think
you're being
Indiana is going to be
transparent.
number 2. And the only reason they're not above Georgia is because Georgia started above them. See how that works? Crazy.
Crazy.
Yep.
You know, Jess, that's very fair, and I think I might actually change my thinking a little bit. I'm gonna go with Indiana at number 2 for the same reason. Because I have this thought that the Big Ten is going to cannibalize itself this year. Cannibalize.
They might.
I think like you're going to have all the teams at the top of the Big Ten are like 10-2 or 11-1, right? Like, and then you're going to get an 11-1 team left out of the conference championship game, and then the winner is going to have 1 loss, the loser will have 2, and then how do you figure that out with the team that got left out? I don't know. That's just the kind of the brain fog that I have about the Big Ten this year, and maybe it's just because of my lack of faith in Ohio State. But I think you're right. There is literally no reason to doubt Curt Cignetti. He has done nothing to show us or prove to us that he can't just go do this again. So who am I to say no to Curt? The SIG is gonna SIG, and I gotta SIG with the SIG.
We gotta stick with it until he shows us otherwise, right? Okay, now I'm going directly against that instinct with my number 3. Because I do have Oregon as number 3. Okay? Here's
Perfect
the deal.
segue.
Yes, their schedule, we've already talked about it. Their schedule is so-so. Okay? I'm saying that they have 1 loss and they go to Ohio State and they lose. Okay, so in this universe now, Ohio State doesn't have 5 losses because they beat Oregon, right?
Okay.
I mean, Oregon did this last year. Like, they went through their schedule, right? And they only lost to Indiana twice. They had a very BYU-like experience where they only lost to one team twice. So again, based on available data, I think Oregon gets the number 3 seed. What they do in the playoffs, they probably get blown out by 40 to, like, let's think. To, like, Iowa, because we decided Iowa is making the playoffs.
Yep.
So that's my thinking there. Also, I did not want to put a second SEC team in my top 4. So now we have Oregon.
So now we have a second Big Ten team.
Yes.
I respect it, Jess. I respect it.
Thank you. And I'm not putting Miami up there because I don't trust Mario Cristobal. I think earlier I said I would put Miami up there. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not saying Miami because they slip up way too often. They got in because the ACC sucked last year, weirdly enough. Right?
Yep.
Anyways, okay, keep going.
Nope. Miami was a clear thought because of their schedule, because they have a Notre Dame schedule, right?
Yes.
Notre Dame and Miami are the exact same. They just also play each other. But basically, right, it's a cakewalk. But I do not trust Mario Cristobal. He is the opposite of Curt Cignetti, like you said. So my number 3 team is actually going to be Texas Tech, okay?
Ooh.
Hear me out, okay? Listen to this schedule. Abilene Christian.
Hold on. Before you get into it, someone doesn't think BYU's winning the Big 12 championship. Actually, we already talked about that.
Hand up. That guy's me, okay? Spoiler.
Okay, keep going. Let's hear their schedule.
Okay. Abilene Christian at Oregon State.
Whoa.
Houston. Sam Houston at Colorado. Bye week. Arizona State at home. At Cincy. Arizona at home. West Virginia at home. At Oklahoma State. At Baylor. TCU at home. There's 1 game on that schedule I think they might lose, or even have a chance in hell of losing, and it is at Oklahoma State. And that is 9 games into the season. So Oklahoma State is not going to catch them by surprise. They're either going to be ranked in the top 25 and everyone's going to be talking about them, or they're not because they suck. So Texas Tech, easy schedule. It will be hard for them to not be ranked in the top 4 come the final end of the season, right?
Yeah.
Like, the only thing standing between them and a top 4 seed is us. And frankly, that's great for Texas Tech.
Congrats. Honestly, the haters have hands. Okay, I'm actually gonna have you do your 4th before I reveal my 4th.
Frick, I'm still thinking about it. Okay, so here are the ones that are no. Here are the ones that are going through my head.
Great.
Okay, LSU, because for the same Georgia reason, right? Somebody's got to be on top, and even if every team at the top of the SEC has 2 losses, you could have a 10-2 team, and they'll be ranked above 3 undefeated teams because they're in the SEC.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's either LSU or Georgia or maybe Alabama. I don't want to say Georgia because I live here.
I'm sorry. I want to say something from the top of my Alabama is an awful football team. They are so bad.
Good.
Like, legitimately.
That's what I want to hear.
They are. I say the same thing about Oklahoma, but Oklahoma might be a little bit better because John Mateer actually can play football. Like I'm not that delusional. Okay, yeah, he's both. Alabama is so bad. I think they're going 5-7 this year.
Okay, good.
I think they miss a bowl. They are so bad. They don't have a QB. They don't have a QB. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. You brought up Alabama. No. Please keep going.
No, that's good. That's good. So now that leaves me with Georgia and LSU.
Okay, great.
And I don't want to say Georgia because I live here and I work with Georgia fans and I love them, but they're insufferable with their and so it's okay if they are, not number 4. If any of them are watching, I still love you. I just don't want your team to do well. So I'm going to say LSU. As insufferable as Lane is, they play Clemson, which I don't care. The voters are going to see Clemson, and they're going to think it's a good win, regardless of how many wins Clemson has at the end of the year. And so, yeah, I think of all the SEC teams, they're probably the most likely. They do have a really hard schedule to finish the year. They play Alabama, Texas. Yeah. I guess Alabama's not that good, but they play Texas and then at Tennessee, so they could have 2 losses late. And in this scenario, you want to lose early and not lose late, right?
Yeah.
If you want to finish top 4.
Alabama is a rivalry game, and weird crap happens in rivalry games. So I would still put that as a tough game, right? So
yeah, people are going to see it as a tough game.
Yep. Here's the other thing I'll say about the SEC. Is that their teams might not be as good as I think they are played out to be, like, truly, from production. Their environments are insane. Like, SEC stadium environments, I will concede that point. I won't say that they're better than some Big Ten environments. Like, I won't say that. But I will say that the bottom of the SEC, like Mississippi State with their freaking cowbells, and then Auburn, like Jordan Hare, like, even if their teams are crap, the environments are still going to be good, and you can't say that for everybody else.
You can't say that about Purdue.
Yeah, that is the only positive thing I will say about the SEC. And it does make, like, going to Auburn tougher, but I still think Auburn's a bad. Since when does crowd noise be, like, it shouldn't make your team better, right?
Yeah, it gives you the edge in a close game. It's not going to win you a game that you're outclassed in. Yeah,
no. So, yeah, okay, great. LSU. I'm gonna unredact my 4th now.
Let's do it.
Here's what happens. We talked 3 weeks ago, and Jessa is all on this. Hey, everybody temper your expectations, okay? BYU is not going 12-0. Well, guess what? They might not go 12-0. Well, they are gonna go 12-0 actually, because I wrote it down. BYU is my number 4 seed. Okay? 12-0. We beat Notre Dame. Notice how they're not in my top 4. We beat Utah. We beat Will Hammond in the championship game. I have BYU at number 4. Maybe at number 5. They could slate in like a 1-loss SEC team in front of us. But we're getting close enough to the season that I might just be needing to exert some somehow. And so until they prove otherwise, BYU, you are now predicted to go 12-0.
Hey, they have shown you nothing to think the contrary. They have not lost a single game, Jessa. They have not lost a single game this year.
They're undefeated right now. And I'm going to bask in that as long as I possibly can. Here's the other thing, too. I just need to do a little disclaimer. If I were paying money, my money is still on 10-2. Okay, everybody? But there is no, like Jared said, there's no money involved here.
There's no money here.
We don't bet, okay? We're going 12-0, and we're going to beat everybody, and we're going to be the number 4 seed. And then we're going to go into the playoffs, and I cannot be held responsible for anything we do in the playoffs. That's all I have.
Good qualifier right at the end. This was a great little exercise, Jessa. I'm very excited to see. I think my favorite part is the teams that will start unranked and finish in the top 20. I think we listed off some good, like, hey, what's your second screen going to be? I don't just want to watch the SEC games. Let me flip on an Oklahoma State game or a Kennesaw State game, right? This will give us. This is really good. I'm very excited. This is. It's making me feel like my background, just staring out the window, waiting for college football to arrive because. We have gotten the juices flowing, but we gotta push the juices down for another week and a half. We got football in a week and a half.
Here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. Next week, we will have actual games to preview. We will have We will have TCU North Carolina to preview. We will have Stanford Stanford Hawaii to preview. I won't say too much. We'll get into that next week. But that's next week. We just got to make it through another 9 days, guys.
We got this. We got this. You got this. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Over and out, baby. Let's go.